The ancient Norsemen, ancestors of the people who today live in Scandinavian countries of Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Iceland, told many stories of a race of supermen descended from gods and giants. The greatest of these was Odin, and this story tells of how Odin and the gods came to create the world. Ice and flame. Before time began, there was nothing. Emptiness. A black void. A shuddering chasm, swirling with mist and spray, torn by the groins of heaving, crackling ice. On one side, banks of dank mist, cold as corpse breath. On the other, fire, scorching, ravenous. Cold and heat, ice and flame invaded each other, came together and mingled. From the hissing and blistering of their mingling, two beings were born. Ymir, first of the giants, and Adumbla, the great cow. The baby giant found the cow's udder and sucked strength. He grew and grew, limbs like oaks, breath like a wind soughing in the pines. And as he grew, new giants sprang up from the drops of his sweat and soles of his feet. Adumbla the cow licked the ice blocks in the void, eager for its salty taste that was in them. Caressed by her rough tongue, the aged ice softened, thawed, and trickled away. After one day, her licking loosened hairs of a head frozen in the ice block. Another day, and the head itself was free. 3 days, and the god Buri burst from his prison, stretching his cramped limbs till the last slivers of ice splintered and fell away. In the black, swirling ice chasm, Buri, first of the gods, confronted his enemy, the giant Ymir. Each wanted to rule, to be first, and the first step to power, the beginning of time, will come when one killed the other. On one side, Buri, huge, alone, powerful. On the other, Ymir and his frost giants, snapping and cracking white fingers of cold. All round, the writhing mists of space, billowing and whispering round the silent, panting battleground. For 100 centuries, 1,000 ages, the battle ebbed and flowed. The noise of it roared and rumbled through space like 100 thunderstorms together. Neither side could win. Giants and god, they were equally matched. Then at last the god bore Buri's son, married a giantess. Their children, god giants, giant gods, were Odin and his brothers, Vili and Vé. They had power and strength of both giants and gods. They were invincible. Odin and his brothers fought on the gods' side. At last they struck down the huge giant Ymir. Blood poured from the ruined caves of his body. A red tidal wave that engulfed and choked the other giants. They floundered in the Red Death and drowned. Only two escaped, flopping and splashing in the sticky Red Sea. They swarmed with their last strength to the outermost rim of space and clung, grasping on the edge like stranded fish. When their strength returned, they built a dark tower, a fortress of stone and iron, swaggering safe between its walls, knotted fists at the darkness of space, and vowed vengeance on all the race of gods. Led by Odin, the victorious gods took Ymir's body and hurled it into the deep void. From it they formed our world. His body became the earth, his blood the seven seas. From the dome of his skull they fashioned the curving sky, and his brains made drifting clouds. Brows they wove a bristling hedge to protect Earth from the slimmering anger of the outcast giants. Bones for mountains, teeth for rocks, hair for vegetation. The work was almost done. Only the maggots crawling in his dead earth flesh were left. These changed into elves, bent evil elves to work with metals underground, shining elves to tend to the fair gardens of the world above. Finally, Odin reached his hand into the glowing, searing furnace on one side of the void of space. He took handfuls of living sparks and flung them upwards to glow like fireflies in the night sky. Two of the largest became the sun and moon. They would have stayed anchored in their places forever, but in the dark iron fortress the jealous giants became aware of them and sent a pack of grey wolves panting across the roof of the world to hunt the sun and moon and keep them in terrified motion. For themselves, the gods created a kingdom, Asgard. It was high above the earth and joined to it by a many-colored rainbow, a royal road. In Asgard they met in council, drank their mead, and took their ease. When they chose, they went strolling in the lower world. In their presence was a thunderclap, an eruption, a sudden shudder of majesty and power. Below on Middle-earth, Midgard, flowers opened for the first time, and the sea whispered and boomed on the empty beaches. But there was no one save the elves and gods to savor its splendor and freshness. No one to take delight in the newest creation. One day, Odin and two of his brothers were walking idly by the shore. They found two logs of driftwood, and on an impulse whittled them into godlike shapes, wooden dolls. Each god breathed a gift into the rigid forms, warm life, beauty, and lastly, flowing movement. Before them, tiny on the seashore, stood Ask and Embla, the first man and woman in all the world.